Bales. It's so great to see you.
Good to see you too, Liz, and call me Rick, please.
And we're so excited to talk about the paper that you wrote with Katherine Stone about artificial intelligence and the workplace.
Well, thanks. This has been a labor of love. It's a fascinating topic.
You talk about how AI is going to change the way that companies hire and manage and potentially fire. What are some of like the most extreme examples you've heard of?
Sure. Well, I mean, the scary thing is that they're already changing all that stuff really, really quickly and a lot. So there are all these little startup companies that are just coming out of nowhere. I mean, 5 years ago, they didn't exist. And now there are literally dozens of them, each of them telling big companies that, hey, you can outsource all your hiring and employee monitoring and all that kind of stuff to us, right? And we will collect data and we will crunch the data and we will tell you who to hire, who to fire, who to promote, who to target, how to track everybody. And there's no regulation, nothing at all. And so some of the most extreme things include things like monitoring everything that everybody puts on Facebook or Instagram or any other social media account, while they're off work, right? But monitoring absolutely everything, tracking literally every movement, every hand movement that a person who works at an Amazon fulfillment center, right? I mean, when you move package from here to here, are you doing that in the completely most efficient way possible? And if not, it'll buzz and tell you what to do. Really kind of scary.
You talked about a portable electronic resume. Can you explain a little bit about what that was or what
Sure.
that is?
So one of the ways that AI is being used a lot recently is to do video interviews of people. And so just as we're talking by Skype, or video conferencing by Skype right now, you could take the video of me talking, or I could take the video of you all and run it through an algorithm, and the algorithm would look at your facial expressions, your word choice, the way that you talk, the speed at which you talk, all those kinds of things, right? Crunch a whole bunch of numbers and compare your data with the data of hundreds of thousands of people who have done a similar interview in the past, and who the company has, knows how they performed. And it can compare you to those legions of other people that it has recorded in the past. But what's scary is that video, may follow you. So who owns that video, right? Mm-hmm. More than likely, the HR company that has video recorded me and has analyzed my data and sent that to some company for decide. They're the ones who own it, and in fact, they want to own it because they want to collect it. And once they have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of video interviews on file, then they can correlate all that data. That's just more data for them to crunch, and their predictors become much more valuable. Have you guys ever done a video interview?
No, I'm afraid. Have you ever done one?
I don't know.
Have you done one, Rick?
I have done a handful. None that I know of that have been recorded.
I gotta say, one of the things I am like a little bit leery about with these technologies is I just personally have a feeling I would be terrible, and that it would write
hence my fumbling with the Skype only, right? Yeah, same here. And you know what? That's actually one of the concerns about. So one of the things that companies are doing to screen out or to evaluate applicants is to have them play video games. And there are companies out there that have developed video games, and a company gives these video games to an applicant. It takes about 20-25 minutes to play the game, and the companies that have developed the video games say that from that 20 or 25 minutes of video gaming, you can tell a person's aptitude for risk. You can tell their a lot about their interpersonal skills, stuff like that, right? And one of the concerns is, I'm not a video game person, so I'm not likely to do as well on a game like that. My thumbs just don't work as well as a 16 or 17-year-olds who are playing Fortnite.
The other thing, not only if you're focusing the whole time on how do I work this video game, but just I think I would be more willing to take risk in a video game than I would in real life or in my job. And so it's hard to see if it even really lines up with the reasons that they're introducing it.
I expect that it's still pretty crude. I suspect that the folks who are doing the video, analyzing the video interviews, they just don't have enough video interviews yet to be spot on. Even the folks who are analyzing Facebook posts and whatnot, right? I think that what's really going to be interesting is what happens in 2 to 3 to 5 years after these companies have had 2 to 3 to 5 years to just continually plug more data into their systems. And every time they plug another ream of data in, the system, the algorithms become more accurate predictors.
One of the things I thought was so interesting about your paper was that insight that this technology might lead to a disaggregation of management, where the person who is supervising you for technical reasons might be a different person who's supervising you to evaluate you. So can you tell us more about that?
Well, sure. I mean, and it might not even be a person, right? It could be an algorithm that's evaluating you. And so it may be an HR service provider that's doing a lot of that. Somebody may be telling you what to do on a day-to-day basis, but then you may have an algorithm, perhaps a wristband, perhaps it's your keyboard, and they're analyzing all your keystrokes and the words you use and the word choice and all that kind of stuff. Maybe if you are in a customer service position where you are responding to customers' telephone calls, they are analyzing your voice. They're trying to figure out whether you're empathetic. Again, they're analyzing word choice, modulation, all those sorts of things, right?
Yikes.
So on that note, I guess in this mix is unions, right? And worker centers, and you talked about how this can come in. So how can unions and worker centers and workers, I guess, be responding to this or preparing for it?
Well, for one, workers who are outsourced need more training. And so one of the things that unions need to be thinking about is how can we get folks retraining? Not just when they lose their jobs, but on a regular basis. So, as faculty members, we're really fortunate to have sabbaticals every once in a while. And we do, research, but in a sense, we're also retraining ourselves. Workers are going to need that too. Regular workers are going to need that too, because there aren't going to be very many jobs out there in another 5 or 10 years that don't require some degree of coding, some degree of computer proficiency, some degree of being able to work with robots.
Whenever these new technologies roll out, we in the academy we have these crises oh no, this is too complicated, the courts aren't going to be able to handle it, which is true. They can't handle it for a while, and you can see some their inability to understand email 20 years ago, or their inability to understand social media 10 years ago. But I feel eventually they catch up, for for example, the e-discovery rules, they caught up eventually. Do you think AI is different?
Well, no. I mean, no, I don't think it's different. I think that the courts will figure it out. I think relatively quickly. I mean, in many ways, I think the AI is almost, it's easy to understand in the sense that we can all understand how it might make us a bit uncomfortable for our every hand gesture to be monitored, for a person to be monitored every time he or she goes to the bathroom in the workplace, every time he or she steps out. One of the things that one company has is they put on a person's ID badge, a microphone, and a GPS locator, so they can track everywhere you go. They can track who you talk to. They can track whether you're talking to mostly men or mostly women. They can track how much you talk versus how much you listen. I think anybody can understand at a very intuitive level why that might make people really uncomfortable.
Fun to talk to you. These questions are so fascinating.
Thanks. I mean, I love this topic and I love talking about it. I don't have a magic ball, a crystal ball, but I do see a lot of changes coming down the pipeline in just the next couple of years.